It's not the world stopping you. It's your programming. I know. That sounds surprising. But let me explain why it saved me. For the longest time, I blamed every setback on things outside my control. The market, the timing, the competition, even just bad luck. I was doing everything right, hustling late nights, reading every productivity article, stacking my to-do list. And yet, somehow, I kept hitting the same wall. Over and over again, I found myself stuck. I remember sitting alone in my apartment, the city dark around me, staring at another plan that had fallen apart. On paper, I had covered all the angles, business strategy, networking, skills, but the result felt out of my hands. It felt crazy. How could I do everything I was supposed to do and still get nowhere? I was angry at myself, frustrated that I still wasn't moving forward. And then, one night, exhausted and frustrated, I started to think differently. What if the problem wasn't outside at all? What if it was something inside me, something hidden, quietly setting the limits? That idea felt almost too simple to believe. Maybe that's exactly why it took me a while to accept. But once I did, everything changed. The truth is, for years I was running on autopilot programming in my mind. Each of us has these patterns, these beliefs we absorb growing up, and most of the time they go unnoticed. They feel like truth, but they're actually just inherited code from our upbringing or past experiences. I've learned that sometimes the biggest walls we face aren't concrete. They're invisible, scripts running in our subconscious. You can follow every rule, work hard, and still feel powerless. Because if your mind believes you should stay small or fears what will happen if you get big, you'll hold yourself back without knowing it. Suddenly it made sense why success felt so elusive. I had been blaming the world when really, I was trapped in a kind of haunted house of my own making. I'm not here to tell you it's easy. In fact, recognizing these invisible barriers created even more tension inside me at first. It was like realizing I'd been fighting shadows. But I promise, understanding this shift in perspective is the start of something powerful. Let me share the 3 hidden beliefs I discovered were quietly sabotaging me. Hidden beliefs. I realized I had been carrying a few secret stories in my head. The first was simple but powerful. Somehow, I'm not enough. It wasn't a screaming voice, it was a whisper, a sense that no matter what I achieved, I'd never truly measure up. When I saw others succeed, I'd tell myself, they've got something, I don't. So I kept chasing perfection, thinking it would prove to myself that I deserved success. But perfection is a moving target. The more I chased, the more exhausted I became. This belief made every setback feel like confirmation. It was the reason I'd spend nights fine-tuning a pitch over and over, because some part of me assumed I'd fail regardless. I realized I was on a treadmill of doubt. No matter how much I did, I never felt enough. That pressure built up tension, but I didn't know why, until I recognized the story in my head. The second belief was subtler, but just as strong. Success will change everything, and not for the better. There was a part of me that feared the unknown consequences of winning. I worried about becoming someone I didn't recognize, about losing friends or making my family uncomfortable with the person I became. For example, I once almost turned down a partnership opportunity because a small voice in me said, if this goes well, what if I lose myself? That was my fear talking, that with success I'd drift away from who I was or the people around me, so sometimes I held myself back. When things got real, I would hesitate, convinced deep down that maybe I should just stay where I was. I realized I had been playing it safe by staying small. The third hidden belief is about being alone in the journey. I'd grown up hearing, no pain, no gain. If it were easy, everyone would do it, and achievements have to hurt. I took that to heart. I felt I had to struggle and suffer for success. Asking for help felt like a shortcut or even betrayal of the grind. This made me push myself relentlessly, even when I was burned out. I didn't admit it at the time, but a part of me believed, if I don't suffer for this, it's not worth it. It isolated me. I saw people offering help or mentoring and I shook it off. That belief meant I was carrying the weight of my dreams alone, which ironically became its own barrier. I see now how each of these beliefs, not enough, fear of change, suffering alone, created an invisible anchor. On the surface I was active, hitting goals, but underneath, these old stories kept my progress slow. Recognizing them was hard. It hurt to admit that I was the one sabotaging myself. But it also released something. When these stories came into the light, they lost a lot of their power. Subconscious fear of success. Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, described something he called invisible resistance. It's the idea that unseen blocks in our subconscious sabotage the very success we strive for. This is exactly what I faced. All the beliefs I just talked about come from a place of fear. But it's not exactly fear of failure, it's fear of success. Strange as it sounds, what we truly worry about is what comes after victory. On a psychological level, success can create anxiety because it forces us to change. Our minds like stability. If you imagine your brain as a safe old computer, success is a sudden update that could crash the system. Think about it. Our subconscious craving for safety can make big wins feel like danger. Whenever something good was about to happen in my life, I sometimes found myself hesitating, even panicking, without understanding why. My heart would race over a promotion, not because I didn't want it, but because deep inside part of me was screaming, "This is too much change." It's like stage fright for success. Our brain loves consistency. It wants us to walk the same path we always have. Now think of a familiar trail in the woods. You know every rock and route. Suddenly, a fork appears that leads somewhere completely unknown. Even if the new path looks rewarding, your instincts tell you to stay on the known trail. That's what our subconscious does. When success introduces a path off our old trail, it throws up a guardrail. This is why sometimes success triggers feel like fear. You might feel unworthy of praise or suddenly focus on small flaws because your subconscious is looking for a reason to protect you. It's an old self-protective mechanism. If something feels dangerous, maybe you should stop or slow down. Once I understood this, I realized I had all these moments in my life that made sense. The last-minute panic before a keynote speech, the doubt before clicking publish, the sudden sense that maybe I should wait before launching a project, all of it was my subconscious trying to keep me safe. Understanding these programming patterns didn't magically remove the fear, but it helped me talk to it. I began to question, is this fear trying to keep me trapped, or is there a real reason to slow down? Sometimes the answer was, no, it's old code. Recognizing invisible resistance was liberating. It told me those anxious moments weren't random, and they didn't have to dictate my future. Reframe failure. Let's talk about failure, but in a different way. In this programming mindset, failure became our greatest teacher. I used to hate failing. It felt like a red mark on my record. But when I started digging into these subconscious blocks, I realized failing could actually be a clue, a tool, a signpost. Here's a practical tip I found powerful. Whenever something goes wrong, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn? It sounds simple, but it changes the game. Instead of seeing a project that tanked as a personal defeat, treat it like data. Maybe my marketing didn't land because I skipped a step. Maybe my energy was low that day. The exact cause doesn't matter as much as the lesson. I also stopped defining myself by the outcome. Instead of thinking I failed, I started saying, this strategy didn't work, or the market didn't respond yet. By separating my identity from the event, it was easier to bounce back. Your self-worth isn't tied to a single attempt. It's tied to the fact that you're learning and growing. Another trick was keeping a failure journal, noting each time something went off track and what insight it gave me. Over time, I saw patterns and progress. I wrote down little lessons like, don't skip the outline meeting, or follow up within 24 hours. These notes became a map of how to move forward, not evidence of defeat. I even started sharing my setbacks. I'd tell a friend or mentor about a failure and ask for perspective. Just saying out loud, I messed up on this, often turned it into a discussion instead of a shame spiral. Many times they would say, we've all been there, and I'd realize how normal it was. Voicing the failure made it smaller and sparked solutions. Emotionally, I learned to be kinder to myself. If I stumbled, I treated it like anyone would treat a friend who tripped. You wouldn't judge a friend for trying. You'd probably say, hey, that was a brave move. Now let's see what we can fix. Talking to yourself that way softens the fear. Above all, remember that failure is a normal part of growth. Every successful person you admire has their own stack of failures behind them. The difference is how they viewed them. They didn't see each one as a sign to quit, but as a signpost to adjust the sails. For me, that realization was like clearing the air. I lifted a weight I didn't even realize I was carrying. It didn't make everything instantly easy, but it showed me I wasn't fighting myself anymore. In the end, here's the takeaway. The world wasn't stopping you, your programming was. Once you start to rewrite that script, by acknowledging those hidden beliefs, understanding the fear of success, and reframing failure as feedback, those old barriers begin to dissolve. So next time you feel stuck, take a moment. Maybe all you need isn't to try harder, but to think differently. You might just rewire your own path without even shouting at the world. Because really, the only thing standing in your way is the code in your head. And that, my friend, you can change.